Hello, this is Catherine Clement, and we're here for our weekly wellness Zoom. And this is just a place, the whole subject of today is the reason that this Zoom came about. A friend that had the pain that we're going to talk about today took her life a few weeks ago, a month or so ago now, I guess. And it reminded me of how close I came to suicide back before my surgery. And so really I was pretty much told to do this Zoom by Spirit and to have a place where people could gather and talk and share their story. And for people that have modalities or treatments or any sort of supplements or products, any kind of products that can help any of the conditions that we talk about. If you have something like that, if you're seeing this at a later time, it is being recorded. So if you see it at a later time and you have something that you think would help, please get in contact with me. I will certainly post my contact information underneath the video in the description. So hopefully some people are going to show up today. Sometimes people are a little shy about getting on camera, and that's the good thing about Zoom is you can turn your video off if you don't want to be on camera, and you can also just have your audio off and not say a word. You can just hang out. I hope I'm not just talking to the camera this whole time, but if that's what needs to happen, that's what needs to happen. I'm going to show you some artwork and tell you about a organization that came about because a group of women have banded together to try to make a difference in the lives of others. And so there's a lot to share about this. It's not just moaning and groaning about pain or woe is me or playing the victim at all. It's about these things happening to people being left without resources, unable to cope, and finally taking their lives. And it's very sad because the condition isn't even taught in medical school. And so it's very, very difficult. Most of us with these conditions went for years without proper diagnosis, and we sustained more damage during that time, more nerve damage. So we're not whining, but we want it taught in medical school so that when people go to the doctor and they say, hey, I have this and this symptom, the doctor doesn't just say, I think you're crazy, I think you're old, I think you're whatever, because they actually heard about it in medical school, the condition. And a great example of that is when I had my spinal cord surgery. Actually, I was an RN for 20 years, and I was at work one day and my back was bothering me, and I had been seeing chiropractors my whole life. So it wasn't, I was very used to them. I'd been seeing them since I was about 5. But that day was different, and when the chiropractor adjusted me, I screamed in pain. It was excruciating. And I mean, I had some really tough adjustments before because I can get stuck. But this was something completely different. I had never felt anything like it. And in less than 2 weeks, 2 days, I was losing feeling from the waist down. I was losing the feeling in my feet, and it was coming up into my calf and it was moving up. So something was obviously not right, and I didn't blame the chiropractor at all because it definitely wasn't his fault. But what it turned out to be was a spinal cord birth defect that nobody knew that I had. And looking back, I can recognize all of the symptoms that just weren't put together, So thank God I found a surgeon I had 2 surgeons tell me it was disc issue, which I do have those, but I knew what disc pain feels like, and so I knew that it wasn't that. And so but after 2 doctors telling me that that's what was wrong, I was considering surgery. So I actually, decided, being an RN, I thought, well, if I'm going to have spinal cord surgery, disc surgery, I want a neurosurgeon to do it. So I contacted a neurosurgeon, and he recognized that it was actually this birth defect. And the only way that he knew about it was because 20 years prior in India, when he was in school, they did a research project on this particular spinal cord birth defect, which is called tethered cord or tethered spinal cord. And so they had studied that when he was in school. And even 20 years later, when he saw my symptoms, he recognized what was wrong with me. If I would have had surgery with the other doctors, I would have probably been paralyzed from the waist down, actually. So it's so important. See, he remembered that. 20 years later, he remembered that, and he got me out of a wheelchair. So having these conditions taught in school, even if they're just mentioned briefly, would perhaps save some lives. And we've lost quite a few to these conditions. Looks like I'm going to talk here. So I don't even know if I introduced myself. I'm Catherine Clement. I live in Boulder, Colorado. And I started this weekly wellness Zoom to connect people that need help with people that can give help, basically. It can get very isolating when you get into some of these chronic pain conditions. That's what we're going to talk about today. Not all chronic pain conditions necessarily. I'm not an expert on all of them, thank God. But the ones that I'm familiar with, and I will mention some friends. There's an amazing lady that started a group of art activists, and we're called Project Angel. And we do artwork to try to raise awareness of these conditions and to try to get the medical school, ACOG in particular, to start teaching about these conditions. So since she's not here, I'll show you a picture of her, and I'll show you some of the artwork that's been done. And there's, as crazy as it sounds, even with these life-altering pain conditions, or if you have been recently diagnosed with something, life-altering conditions, it really does a number on you. You really go through a lot of soul searching. Some would call it the dark night of the soul. You will have a lot of dark nights of the soul if you're in pain for years. I've had this pudendal pain going on 11 years. It'll soon be 11 years of constant 24/7 pain. If I wake up, it's there. I have to take a pill to go to sleep because what I use for pain control during the day, which is medical marijuana, that does not help me sleep. It does help me eat. It helps me be able to carry on a conversation with people. It helps me do what I need to do, get to the grocery store, and then, when I get home, I'm in a lot of pain. But at least I can go. And if I didn't have the medical marijuana, I wouldn't be able to go at all. So it's very helpful. I wouldn't say that it completely relieves the pain. Like, the pain is still there. If I want to focus on the pain, it's there. But it helps me focus elsewhere. It helps me focus on our conversation without the pain overwhelming me. And there's a lot to be said for that. I tried pharmaceuticals, especially before my surgery, before we knew what I had. I guess I should start with my own story. I was at work. I was a neonatal intensive care nurse for 20 years. So I worked with premature babies in intensive care. The little teeny ones, like 23, 24 weekers. 23's really difficult, but we're getting so much better once they get up, past 27 weeks even is much easier now because of some of the technology that we have. But so I worked 12-hour night shift. I got off work and I decided I was going to go ride my horse. And I wound up falling from my horse. And I landed right where I had had previous spinal cord surgery, the condition that I was talking about earlier. I had to have spinal cord surgery for the tethered cord syndrome. And in order to do that, they had to take part of my vertebrae out of a couple of them so so that they could actually get to the spinal cord to do the surgery. So there wasn't much protection when I landed there. The pieces of bone that they take out kind of protect, although maybe I'd have broken them off anyway, who knows. But anyway, I concussed the spinal cord in the fall. I broke the sacrum and the coccyx. And the coccyx is now actually fused at 90 degrees forward, which causes other issues with bowels and things like that, because it pokes straight forward there. And there are nerves there that affects. And at some point I may have to have that out. I don't know, but I'm going to try some other things first. Compared to the pudendal pain, my tailbone pain is nothing. So we'll see when I get rid of the pudendal pain, how much it bothers me. But so that day, that fall changed my life. It took my nursing career away. It's been almost 11 years now. The first 5 years, actually the first 4 years, I did not know what I had. I just knew that I had horrible, horrible genital pain. Pudendal, what I had is called pudendal nerve entrapment, and it's abbreviated PNE. And the pudendal nerves come off of the spine at about S1, S2, right around there. And they come off in 2 large branches. And then those 2 large branches branch into 3 branches each. So you got the 2 large ones, and then each one of those has 3 branches. So these particular nerves are motor. They have motor function. They have sensory function, and they have autonomic function, which is a little unusual. Not all nerves are like that. So the nerves, and this brings out another point right here, what I'm about to say, which is probably the reason why I'm the only one here talking right now. These nerves service the anus, vagina, and clitoris, or on a man, penis. So this is a subject that people are afraid to even talk to their doctors about. They're too embarrassed to say, I have pain in my vagina, or whatever they call it, or my penis feels like it's on fire. I think men are probably more outspoken to say it. Women hide it. Women even hide it from their spouses, which I can't even fathom, because the most painful thing in the world is intercourse when you have this condition. And so for women to live through that pain they must have a lot of pharmaceuticals or something. I don't know. Otherwise, I don't know how they could hide it, because it is excruciating pain. It is suicidal pain. Like I said earlier, Judith took her life not so very long ago. And she had actually been diagnosed. They knew what she had. Some people do it when they can't get diagnosed. They go from specialist to specialist to specialist. They get sent to a psych. Almost every one of us has been sent to a psych. I got sent to a psych because I was suicidal. I wasn't suicidal. I was in so much pain for 4 years that, actually it was 5 years, because that 5th year I found the doctor, figured out what I had, but then there was a year of testing before we could do the surgery. And the surgery is what got the pressure off the nerves. So that took that suicidal level of pain out of there. Even though I have pain now, that still disables me and keeps me in bed about 90% of the time. It was so much worse then. And I'm going to actually read to you something that I wrote about it, because people say, well, what does it feel like? And I was trying to describe what it feels like. I've mentioned this amazing lady several times. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but you'll hear the rest of my story if we need to as we go on. No, you know what? I should stay with that because I want to bring up Dr. Showberry. So for 4 years, I went doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, couldn't get any relief. They put me on, I think, $800 a month worth of pharmaceuticals. I was still in suicidal pain. I was actually, I had already spoken with my kids and my parents, and I was actually going to do the physician-assisted suicide because I didn't want them to just, have to come in and clean up the mess or something. But I was in ungodly pain. If you have never experienced it, there's no way that even when I read you what I wrote, you won't get it, but, and as I said, I got sent to a psychiatrist. I got turned in, for talking about killing suicide or the physician assisted suicide, but nobody was helping. Like this is what I want to express to people. And this is why I started this Zoom too, because people, and I understand from both sides because I was a medical professional for 20 years. So I've been on both sides. I know how busy we are. I also know that it doesn't take that much to just tell somebody, look, I don't know what's wrong with you, but let me help you find out, instead of just abandoning people. Can people with conditions like this get abandoned by their medical professionals? If the medical professional says something convincing to the family and the family believes them instead of you, they get abandoned by their family. Almost all of us have been abandoned by a spouse because they just can't deal with not having intercourse and the sacrifice that comes with living with someone who has conditions that restricts what they can do. We can't just go out on a date and go dancing or something. It's not that I love my life, don't get me wrong. I'm here to inspire people and say, even with this pain, you can love your life. You don't have to suffer. So that's my message, and don't give up, because I was so close to giving up. And I'm so thankful today that I didn't. And of course, my children and my family and my friends. And now I'm here talking to people, and hopefully you won't give up either if you're thinking about it. We've had some people in the forums recently. Thank goodness we do have forums online where we can talk to each other if anybody goes down that road and they just need somebody to talk to. Thank God for that, But so finally, after 4 years, after consulting with everybody that I knew to consult with, I was on the internet constantly researching, and I landed on a page where it described every one of my symptoms. Every one. It was right there. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt that that's what I had, and I was just so grateful. Oh my God. Just to get a name for it. Just to know that I wasn't crazy, because when enough people tell you that you're crazy, even though you're not, you're in this pain, you start to wonder, because how can nobody know about this? But I found out why, because it's not taught in medical schools. That's why nobody knows about it. So I found the condition. It was called pudendal nerve entrapment. Pudendal nerve entrapment. And that's where these nerves that come off the spine, like I was telling you, when I fell, I crushed those nerves. I had blunt force trauma to those nerves. And then as inflammation, the body tries to help by bringing in blood supply, which causes inflammation. And then I had scar tissue that started growing around those nerves. And so I found out what I had. I found out that there were only 5 doctors in the United States that actually work with this particular, that actually do the surgery that I needed. 5 doctors. So I started consulting with those doctors and pretty much was told I should go to France because they had the most experience with it at that time. You have to, this was a while back. This was about 6 years ago. So they said go to France because I'd already had the spinal cord surgery. Well, there was no way I could go to France. I could barely drive 3 miles down the road to get groceries. Sometimes I had to have people bring me groceries. There was no way. I lost my house in less than 3 years of this fall because I couldn't I couldn't take care of it. I couldn't keep up with the payments. I went through my savings, even living very frugally. Your savings don't go nearly as far as you think they will. So here I was, I had just lost my house, or I was in the process of losing my house, and no, I'd already lost my house. I think I was in the process. Anyway, the point is that going to France was pretty out of the question for me at the time. But God loves me. And just like I found the perfect surgeon to do my spinal cord surgery, the 6th doctor showed up only 45 minutes from my house. And I was just talking with a physical therapist online, and telling her some of my symptoms, and she suggested Dr. So-and-so, that he works with that. I'm like, no, there's only 5 doctors that work with that. And she's like, no, he does, really. Just nobody knows about him. So he was only 45 minutes away. What a blessing. Oh my gosh. So it took about a year. There is testing that has to be done. You have to get these nerve blocks where they use this really long needle and go in. Like I said, these nerves come off of the spine at about S1, S2. They go down through the buttocks and then forward towards the genitalia. So when they do the nerve block, they go into the buttocks. And I had nerves trapped bilaterally or on both sides. So I had to get nerve blocks on each side, and it's a CT guided, so they can see where they're going on the screen. But the amazing surgeon that I found, Dr. Abbas Showberry at OU Medical Center, Dr. Abbas with an A, Abbas, I think it is, Showberry, Shobby, it's either E-I-R-I or I-E-R-I, one of those, I can't remember. I think it's E-E-I-R-I, but anyway, he is a urogynecologist and pelvic reconstruction surgeon. And I went to see him, and I had been telling doctors my symptoms for 4 years. And there was this spot on my back that was just so excruciating. And I mentioned that to him, and I explained my symptoms. And at the time I was in an electric wheelchair, and he said, I need you to take a few steps for me. Can you take a few steps? And I said, yeah, I can. I just can't take very many. And he's like, okay. So I did. And the minute after he saw me take 2 or 3 steps, he turned to his nurse and he said, that is what pudendal nerve entrapment looks like. And he could tell there are signs the way I was walking that he could tell. And then on the physical exam, he just blindly put his hand, he was facing me and put his hand just blindly behind my back, and he ran his finger down my spine until he got to that exact point that I had been showing to doctors for 4 years. He put his finger right there blindly, and he said, is that the spot? And I was like, oh my God, this man can help me. Sorry. So it was such a blessing. Dr. Showberry saved my life, literally. And, but like I said, he couldn't do surgery right away. We had to do these nerve blocks, and you can't have sedation during them, or he doesn't allow people to have sedation during them because he wants you to feel the pain. He wants you to guide him as the pain gets worse and worse and worse and worse until it's at the very, very worst, because that's when he knows that needle it has to be within 1 millimeter of the nerve. So the blocks worked on me. I had to have 3 sets of bilateral blocks, 3 months apart. The blocks worked on me. And that, if the blocks work, even if it's just for a few hours or a few days, I think the longest one ever worked on me was a week, 1 week. But if they work at all, that means that it is that nerve. So that was good, because they don't really know until I get in there for sure. There's so many nerves that service the pelvis that they don't know for sure, because you can get other nerves that can cause some of the same symptoms, like in a radiating kind of a way. So the other test that we had to do was so much fun. He sticks his finger up your butt and basically electrocutes you, which is one of the symptoms anyway of this. I probably should have read my paper. I need to read that. Anyway, it's a nerve conduction test, and it is not fun. I'll just put it that way. But you have to do it because he wants to make sure before he goes in there, because these are sensory motor autonomic nerves. The motor component goes to the sphincters, like the anal sphincter, the urethral sphincter, vaginal, any place that can contract, and you can have incontinence if these nerves are damaged too badly. That's one of the risks of the surgery as well, because basically what they have to do is go in there and scrape that scar tissue off the nerve. So there's the chance of damaging it further, accidentally slicing through it. People make mistakes. So you don't, you want to make sure, absolutely sure, because there are risks to surgery. Always. I can tell you that as an RN, just going under anesthesia is a risk. So you never want to have surgery if you don't have to. But you have to make sure you're operating on the right nerves. And Dr. Showberry, the man saved my life. But I also know he's gotten some bad rap from some of the people in the community because they went to him and they wanted him to do surgery based on another doctor's test results, and he won't do that. And if you won't go through his testing and he can't confirm and know in his heart for himself that that's what he's dealing with, he won't do surgery. And some people don't like that, and I get it, because all these consults and stuff are expensive, all these tests are excruciatingly painful, so I completely get that you don't want to go through it again if you've already been through it. However, as a nurse for 20 years, I can tell you that two people can take a blood pressure and it'll be different, or count a pulse, and you can't always trust other people's tests. Even as an RN, when I supervised LPNs, if I had any question about a patient's vital signs, I would go in there and retake them, because I hate to say it, but sometimes people just write stuff down like they did it when they really didn't. And then people, can wind up severely ill. And it looks like, well, look, their vital signs were fine. No, just the person, wanted to go have a smoke break and wrote some shit down. That's all. So realize that, as a surgeon, if I was a surgeon, I don't think I would do surgery based on another doctor's results either. Anyway, I love Dr. Showberry. Can you tell? I get like a mama bear when somebody, goes against somebody that I love like that. He was so kind to me. He was so kind. Oh my gosh. So I had the surgery. We got through all the year worth of testing. I had the surgery, and I knew when I woke up, even with post-surgical pain, that I was out of that suicidal pain. And he found all kinds of scar tissue. It was about a little over 6 hour surgery. He found pieces of bone sticking in the nerve, and here I had been complaining about this pain, and people were telling me I was just crazy. It was very disheartening. As a member, having been a member of, dedicated my life to healthcare for 20 years, I felt very betrayed and abandoned by the healthcare field. And I had more resources being a nurse. I had more knowledge and resources about these things than most people do. So I can't imagine how some of the people that don't have those resources, I can't imagine how they feel. They must feel even more abandoned. Or like Judith, she needed surgery. She didn't have money. The doctor, the surgeon, actually agreed to do the surgery pro bono. He says, I'll just do the surgery. We have to get this child out of pain, and the hospital would not allow him to perform the surgery for free. And she finally gave up. You can only push for so long. Sadly, about 3 days, I guess, after Judith took her life, I found out about a procedure that I'm going to go have done, that so far they've been having really good results. And it's, not even a tenth of the cost that the other surgery would have been. Perhaps the hospital would have, perhaps a doctor would have agreed to do it, and there wouldn't have been a charge to her. So, but people can only hang on so long, especially without support. And when you feel like you're just no good to anybody, like you can't, like what is the purpose of just living in pain 24/7? I can't help anybody. I mean, your mind becomes your worst enemy. It tells you things like, oh, the kids would be better off with my insurance money at this point. I mean, it says really cruel things. And you have to learn how to take control of your mind. Regardless of if you have pain or not. But especially if you have chronic pain, you have to learn to control your mind. If you have something that really limits your life, Because you can go down a deep, dark hole. You really can. You can totally get stuck in the quicksand and just be sucked right down, unless you are purposefully doing things to bring yourself out of that. You know, you're going to have to make a toolbox for yourself of all these little things that help. And I'm going to mention some of them here in a little bit. There's not one thing. Well, this cryotherapy, this procedure that I'm going to go have done, that has the possibility of taking all the pain. So wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, I'm just like so looking forward to it. It's going to mean a couple of trips to Atlanta because he'll only do one side at a time, which I understand. It's unfortunate because it costs more money, but I understand his reasoning and I respect the man. I respect the doctor who's doing it. He has good reasons for only wanting to do one side at a time because there could be complications with incontinence or even the autonomic part of the nerve, which affects our blood pressure and our heart rate, respiration, all of that. So I'll just go to Atlanta a couple of times. I may even go more than that because I've had a lot of other back issues. Maybe he can help some of that. It would be so amazing to get out of all this pain. I can feel it already. So, and that's coming as soon as I can get an appointment made and get down there. But other than that, it usually takes a lot of different things. Like you have to do hyper avoidance of all the things that aggravate the pain. If it hurts, don't do it. This is not a condition that you can push yourself through the pain. You can't. It just escalates the pain, it inflames the nerve, and it causes more damage. So don't take the typical physical therapy or athletic coach advice on this. Don't do it. You will wind up taking your life because the pain gets so severe, not even intravenous medications help it. You just can't. You can't. I tried. I mean, I'm tough. I walked for 4 days with a broken pelvis. I broke my pelvis before I broke my sacrum. I've broken a lot of bones. I walked with a broken foot in 4 places for a month before I went to the doctor. So pain is not something that, I've had that my whole life. And part of that is because I think it ties into that spinal cord birth defect. But I think I have a parathyroid problem because I don't think I utilize calcium properly. But anyway, you're going to build this toolbox. You're going to find things that distract you from the pain because that's really the only way to get away from it. Even if you're using pharmaceuticals or, like me, marijuana, you have to distract yourself. If, I prefer to keep myself busy helping people doing stuff like this. But if you want to crochet, if you want to watch movies, if you want to do art is a wonderful way to deal with the pain because you can express the emotions. There's so many emotions that come up around this. It's so, it's like your body has turned against you and you just feel like you're being tortured. You literally feel like you're being tortured by your own body. I'm going to pull up some of these things and share a little bit with you here. I'm going to show you this is, wait a minute, I might have to share screen or something here. Share screen. I'm gonna show you some pictures here. So this This is a picture, this is a painting that Atara Schimmel did. She's the amazing woman that started Project Angel. And thank God for her. She's taught so many of us how to use art to deal with our emotions and the frustrations that come from being in bed 90% of the time. And I know that there's people out there that are in bed 100% of the time, so I'm not complaining, believe me. Like, I can walk, my legs work, I'm twice out of a wheelchair, and I am so very, very grateful. So please don't feel like I'm whining. I'm not. But people need to know, look at this. This is what this pain feels like. We hide it behind these smiles. But that's what it feels like. And Atara, every one of us that have seen this painting, we say, yeah, that's what it feels like. That's exactly what it feels like. Here is, she started Project Angel, and she paints these beautiful angels that help inspire us to make it through another day. This one says, hopeful heart, tomorrow is a new day. You know, if we can just hold on from one day to the next, we pray that we can live long enough for someone to find a cure, like this cryotherapy procedure that I'm going to go have. I mean, that could be the end of this 11-year hell that I've been in, you know. So just really looking forward to that. Here's dear girl, trust and let go. Have faith. She's done such an amazing job on all these paintings. Sisters, our voice will be heard, united as one. We will be heard. Atara has gotten well enough that she's able to actually go out and do art shows and interact with the public and really do hands-on teaching about this thing. Myself, I'm going to have to do my teaching on the Zoom room. Let me see what other pictures I have here. These are so beautiful, and Atara does have an Etsy store where she sells these, and so if you would like to order one of these as a gift to someone who has chronic pain, even if it's not pelvic pain or whatever, please contact me and I'll get you that information. Step into your own power. My soul has a specific, deeply important mission to fulfill. That is such an amazing, sorry for the phone. That's such an amazing thing to remember, because when you go from being very active and being a caregiver and taking care of other people to suddenly being bedbound and other people taking care of you, you think you've lost your mission. Like, you can't imagine ever getting your mission back, ever even thinking about your mission again. It's just gone. And it's really a head trip that you have to push through. You really have to dig down and find that you are an amazing person, amazing, energetic, spiritual being, and you are worth everything just by being you. It doesn't matter if you can't work anymore. It doesn't matter if you can't take care of your family. It doesn't matter if you can't have sex. All of these things, it doesn't matter. You're still amazing. You still deserve love. You still deserve compassion. So I just love, and these are the things that her paintings bring out in me. So thank you, Atara, and the ladies sticking together. And by the way, men have this condition as well. So here, Atara is demonstrating, or actually this isn't Atara. Here somebody is demonstrating the isolation that you feel. Thank God for the internet, because I can connect with people, you know, all day. But without that, pretty much, you just feel like you're locked inside the jail cell, looking out at the world, and nobody hears you, Nobody cares to come let you out. You know, you're just there, trapped inside this body that continues to torture you with this ungodly pain. Sisters, our voice will be heard united as one. Oh, there's another one. And here's at one of their viewings. This is faces. I think there's another picture here of, oh, here's the sacred sisters, sisters forever. It says, sisters forever, sacred sisters, love, guard, and protect each other's souls forever. She loved them deeply. They stayed by her side. They believed in her when she no longer believed in herself. They loved her and cared for her from afar. They were her sacred soul sisters. They were her best friends. When so many abandoned her in her sickness, they loved her and showed her the value of true friendship. Their love and dedication kept her spirit alive. And she's talking about all of us, that we stay in contact online and support one another when everybody else in our lives abandoned us. You know? One thing about a chronic illness situation is it will show you who your friends are. It will show you what they value you for, basically. And if you can't do what they value you for anymore, you're out of there. Sorry. But that's okay, because you see people's real hearts, you know. So thank God we stick together and we help each other. These are some, look at these beautiful smiles. We all get compliments on our smiles all the time. You would never know. This is a coloring page. This is not the, wait a minute. I want to just show you something else. Here we go. So, I want to get this. I hope that's not blocking the screen. I don't want to block her. Put it up here. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Hold on, technical difficulties. All right. So this is something I wrote to try to explain how it was before surgery compared to how it is now. Because we have a lot of people in the forums that they are not sure if they have pudendal neuralgia or if they have pudendal nerve entrapment. And if you only have pudendal neuralgia, which is an irritation, inflammation of the nerves, you don't want to have surgery because that's just going to make it worse. So you only want to have surgery if you have entrapment. So I was trying to explain the difference. Now this is going to get very graphic, and I'm not going to pull any punches here. You guys are going to hear the real deal. You're going to see what hides behind these amazing, beautiful smiles. Okay, I don't know how I can be so much better and still disabled, but there's really no comparison to before and after surgery as far as levels of pain. Before surgery, nothing helped, ever. I walked with a broken pelvis for 4 days before I went to the ER. Walked with a broken foot in 4 places for a month before I went. Pain tolerance is one of my strengths, although this pain has certainly affected my central nervous system and made me more sensitive, I believe. When you've been in this kind of pain for this many years, you get what they call centralized pain. So I consider my surgery very successful. It saved my life, literally. I am disabled, but I am no longer suicidal. Before surgery, I would describe it as giving birth, crowning, like when the baby's head is coming through, crowning, while being anally raped with a bull shocker, pinched with pliers, blowtorched, stabbed with a 12-inch butcher knife in the vagina and anus, and a taser to the clit, all simultaneously, while pouring alcohol on it 24/7. I know that's graphic, but that's what it feels like. I also had PGAD, which is persistent genitalia arousal disorder, which is where you, for a girl, I mean, a guy would understand it as you get this perpetual hard-on. I don't know how else to say it. You're just always aroused, and it's painful. It's not a good thing. Like PGAD is actually one of the things, most of our suicide people had PGAD. So it's a very, it's not good. I also had PGAD, leg weakness, severe neuropathy from the waist down, severe sphincter spasms. I had bowel and bladder problems from spinal cord before, worsened by the fall that caused the pudendal nerve entrapment and aggravated by it. I was unable to walk more than a few small steps, as all 6 branches were trapped for 5 years. Now, this may sound extreme, but it still doesn't describe it. Like, that still does not describe the pain. You can't even with words like that, you can't describe it. 5 years post-surgery, I still have burning 24/7 in the vagina and anus, but it's more like a Bic than a blowtorch, as if a Bic weren't enough. Just whip it out and put a Bic under it and see how long you can stand it. I can still get all of those symptoms, but rarely and never all together. Like, I always have the burning, but the stabbing is intermittent, thank God. And some of the other ones, they very rarely all come at one time anymore. And usually only if I do too much, which isn't much, but still, before my surgery, there was no relief at all. So you have to know there's a huge difference between all of that going on constantly 24/7 and having breaks where some of it may only happen a few times a week or a few times a day. So not medications, nothing before surgery, nothing helped. And now I have a lot more aching now than I did before surgery. And I kind of take that as a good sign that I'm getting some healing going on there. And I think maybe I just noticed the aching more because that other pain is scaled down. I do still get symptoms down my legs, but a lot of it's muscle spasming from weakness. I've been in bed primarily for almost 11 years. So even though I do walk and I try to make myself strengthen myself, I do go into spasm very quickly. And so I can only go so far, and then I have to lay down, even if it's in the middle of the store. And I'm saying here, I do constantly push myself. The neuropathy and the sciatica has improved. When I get sciatica, it's usually down both legs at the same time. So I'm not sure if that is a disc causing that, but usually I only get that if I've gone to the grocery store and I'm pushing a cart or something. And it's just me, so I don't buy that much food, but still just the cart is heavy for me to push actually without putting anything in it. And so I can get bilateral sciatica from stuff like that. But if, just being around the house, I don't normally have it, which is great because I used to have it all the time. And the PGAD is gone, which is such a relief. I mean, it just is. The bowel and bladder issues, I do still have problems because I have spasms. And between the anal spasms and that broken tailbone, that causes a lot of problems with elimination. Sorry if this is all graphic, but you guys need to know what these people are dealing with and why Well, why would they kill themselves? Well, because it affects everything. You're in the pain, you can't pee, you can't poop, or you're incontinent, and your blood pressure's sky high, and everybody abandoned you, and it just is like things pile on. And it's not just with this condition. There are people with fibromyalgia. There are people, oh my God, there's all these people now with mesh. They're mesh injured. They're using this mesh to put, like, to fix hernias, and when they do bladder slings and all of these sorts of surgeries, they're using this mesh, and the mesh is like disintegrating and spreading throughout the body and causing horrible, horrible illnesses. Do not let them put mesh in your body. I wish to God that some of the mesh people would have come here. I invited many of them, and I invited many Pudendal people. But these are things that people are afraid to talk about. They're afraid, they've been told they can't talk about it because they're in a lawsuit. Meanwhile, they continue to put this crap in people, and it really pisses me off. I'm just telling you. They don't talk to these people in the forums in the wee hours of the morning when they don't think they can make it another hour. They just keep putting this crap in people because they're making money on it. And it's criminal. It's goddamn criminal. And I'm sorry if I'm cussing, but it's criminal. You are destroying people's lives, destroying them. Maybe not everybody reacts. I don't understand why some people do, some people don't. I know some people that have mesh that don't have any problems. I don't know if it's just because they haven't had it in there long enough. I don't know if it's because they don't have an immune system strong enough to fight it. I don't know. All I know is they need to quit using it. They need to quit denying that this stuff is causing health issues. And they need to quit putting it in people. And as people, you guys need to take control of your health. People look at their doctors like they're gods, and some of them come pretty close, like Dr. Showberry. I look at him sort of like a god because he saved my life. But a lot of you are looking at your doctors like God, and they're nowhere near. They're just filling you up with more pharmaceuticals, and they're doing surgeries on you to make money, and they know that these things cause problems, and they're ignoring it. And it's criminal. Just like keeping medical marijuana away from people is criminal. I am pretty much stuck in my home. Well, I don't even have, we won't even go there, how I live. But I'm stuck in my state for sure. I can't leave the state because I can't take my medicine with me. Here I am, a person that is in bed almost, 90% of the time. If I had the opportunity to travel, I would love to. But there's no way I can even consider it because I can't take my medicine with me. That's what gets me through the day. Pharmaceuticals don't work for this pain. Pharmaceuticals don't fix these people with these mesh injuries. You can't fix that stuff. They can't even get it out of their bodies. It's just disintegrated and gone everywhere throughout their lymph system. It's caused all kinds of scar tissue to grow in places where it shouldn't grow. It's crazy. We're coming up on the top of the hour, and I'm really just getting fired up here. But my bowel and bladder issues continue because of the spasms. I cannot walk or stand for too long. I can walk well. Like, I can walk even without a limp. I've learned to walk without a limp even when I have sciatica, because I know what walking with a limp does to my body. It really messes up my vertebrae and gets me out of alignment and puts me in even more pain. So I will push through pain and not limp. Now, there's times I can't. It gets too bad, But you can't, like one day I might be able to walk 50 steps without it increasing the pain. Another day it could just be 3 steps. You can't predict these, how you can't predict this pain. So you can't really, you can't plan. I mean, you can plan, but you always have to say, but, and you can be positive minded and you can think, I'm going to go, I'm going to do it. And you can still be in too much pain to go, I'm telling you. So I can't sit. Anytime I'm sitting, I'm putting direct pressure on the nerves. And so like if I drive to the grocery store, which is just a few miles away, that's putting pressure on those nerves that are already irritated. When I go into the store, when I walk into the store, and then when I push a cart around, it's aggravating the nerves. That's why I'm in so much pain when I get home. So there's no way I could go out of state, so we're sort of trapped. That's why that jail image is so, really tells the truth about that. But at least I can walk. I'm grateful for everything that I can do. I am so grateful. I used to have to get my groceries delivered. Now I really push myself because I want to get stronger, and I push myself to go do it, But you have to learn your limits. You have to learn what you can push and what you have to learn what's is going to send you into a flare, because the flares where we get all these symptoms again at one time and they're like so mind blowing, that's when people get suicidal. So don't put yourself there. Don't push yourself to the point where you push yourself into a flare. And there's people get all kinds of Botox and stuff injected, and Botox, please do research. I don't know. My surgeon doesn't use it. He did initially. I never had it, and I wouldn't have had it. But he has used it, and he quit using it because he didn't feel either that it gave the right results or it was having too many complications, or I don't know what it was, but he doesn't do them anymore. I'm not going to. So anyway, you guys get an idea of this pain and what we're hiding behind these beautiful smiles. Look at all these smiles. Every one of us is smiling. Well, almost every one of us. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just can't smile. That's one of the exhausting things about being with people. That's why we isolate ourselves. Because being with people, we have to smile. We have to hide it. We have to be strong. We can't talk about it or we're being victims. We have to pretend like it's not there. And you can only do that for so long when you're in this kind of pain. So we isolate so that we don't have to put on that front to people. Of course, our families see that. That's why they don't stick around. They don't understand. They think we're making excuses. They think we're being the victim. They think we're whatever they think, And we can't change that. We just have to accept what this condition does to us. Yes, there's things that we can do, like don't, be hyper avoidant. Don't do the things that increase your pain, like too much walking or pushing or pulling, no squats, no stairs. I recently was in a situation where I was having to do stairs every day, and my pain, I was out of my mind and having to try to be a civil human being to people. We can get cranky, Put a big lighter under your crotch and see if you don't get a little bit cranky. I told the doctor to do that one time. So let me tell you some things to put in your toolbox. I know I'm running a little long, but that's okay. You have to get control of your thoughts. Join a mastermind. Start reading some books on mindset. Learn how to control your thoughts. Learn how to change your thoughts. Learn how to not focus on what you don't want and learn how to focus on what you do want. Learn how to be grateful for everything that you can do instead of just everything you can't. I mean, I've kind of told a lot of things today because I need people to understand ACOG. We need you to teach the doctors about these conditions. Please, people are killing themselves. Put one little paragraph in there, something, anything, just mention them, mention that. If you have gone through all of these things and you don't know what's wrong, it could be this or this or this. Can we not do that? Please explain to me why we can't. Why hasn't that been done? I don't understand. Back to the toolbox. Sorry, see, I get off. Back to the toolbox. Ice. Use ice. Ice helps a lot for the burning. Yeah, you have to put ice on your crotch. Some people use a condom, put a popsicle in there, and put that up inside of them. Some people, there's too much pain, too much spasming to get that in there. So, but be careful with the ice. You just want a few seconds, no more than 10 seconds on delicate areas like that. On and off. Don't just leave it there. I know it feels good, but don't just leave it there. Just take it on and off. And music. If you're a music lover, utilize music. Music going in through headphones or earbuds like this. There's a lot of meditation music. There's a lot of different brain wave musics, kind of shift you into a different brain wave besides just agony. If you like to read, what are your hobbies? Utilize your hands, keep your hands busy, learn something new, help someone else. That's what I found helps the best, is helping other people. So doing things like this. I've been over an hour now without the medical marijuana, and that's a long time for me. And as soon as I get off of here, that's what I'll be doing. But use whatever, use marijuana. There, you can vaporize it. If you don't want to smoke it, you can vaporize it. You can eat it in edibles, cookies, brownies, whatever, gummies. There's soda pops. There's all kinds of different ways that you can take this in. There's something called CBD and something called THC. I really think, since I'm already over the hour, that I'll just do a show on medical marijuana. So I think that's exactly what I'll do. But use what you have. Don't take pharmaceuticals if they're not helping, because they're doing stuff to your body. They're affecting your liver, your kidneys. They're making your body more acidic. Some people will say that an alkaline body cannot experience pain. So getting our bodies alkaline is huge. You have to change your diet to do that. I know so many people are resistant to that, but you really need to start. There's plenty of information online. Look at alkaline foods. Basically, if you just go raw foods, no processed foods, get off meat, dairy, all of that stuff. Get off of that stuff. It's just making your body more acidic. And I'm talking to everybody here, not just people in pain, but all of those things, the meats and the dairies and all that, just make you very acidic. And acidity sort of robs the body of oxygen. Lack of oxygen to the cells on a cellular level causes disease, illness, pain, these different conditions. So you have to have all of these things in your toolbox. It has to be your diet. It has to be your mindset. It has to be your spiritual beliefs, your faith. Whatever faith you have that you can fall on and depend on, do it. You need it. If you can find a friend that'll actually stick by your side and not desert you through this, keep them. They're a keeper, because most people will walk away. What else? What else to go in the toolbox? Get into a forum with other people that have what you have, not just to be in there moaning and groaning, but so that you have a place to go and express yourself where people truly understand and don't judge you. I cannot express how important that is, to feel like you have been heard and understood and not ridiculed or anything like that. Music, let's see what else. Video games. I started playing video games after my fall, and that was very, very helpful. And since then, I've seen where they're using 3D goggle video games in the burn units while they're changing the bandages, because that's so extremely painful to change those bandages. And so they're having people play the video games because it's so distracting and engaging that it helps distract from them changing the bandages. And I also have some glasses that I can put on, and they have these little lights inside. You keep your eyes closed, but you have earbuds, and it plays this music that's synced with the lights, and it actually like shifts your brain waves. I forget what it's called. I'll have to talk about that on another one. But those are really great if I just really don't seem to be able to get control. Sometimes I just have to turn everything off. Sometimes I just can't even stand, any noise or anything. It gets like that. Thankfully, not as much now. I'm finding it easier, especially with the marijuana, to be able to interact with people and not let my central nervous system get so overwhelmed. So that's what you kind of have to do, is find these things that go into your toolbox that help you. This helps a little bit, this helps a little bit, this helps a little bit, so that you don't get overwhelmed. And I definitely want to add essential oils into that toolbox. There's some wonderful oils like lavender and one called helichrysum. Helichrysum is an amazing one for nerve pain. What else should go in that box? We talked about ice. Not sitting. I see people in the forums all the time that are almost suicidal from pain, and then they tell me that they went to the movies and sat or something, or they drove or something. You have to avoid those kinds of activities because it can really cause your pain to increase. And you just have to find the things that you can do. I'm going to do probably a video, or maybe I'll just do it on here one time, like some of the exercises that I do. You have to find what works for your body, because I'm dealing with pudendal neuralgia and spinal cord damage, so it's a little different than what you could probably do a lot more than I could do. But there's some things, if you have pudendal neuralgia, that you absolutely should not do, according to my surgeon. So, and I trust him. So let's see. What else have we got? We talked about diet. We talked about having support. We talked about music, essential oils, having a hobby, staying busy, celebrating everything that you can do instead of focusing on what you can't. Knowing that everything happens. Oh, this is something else. Thank you. God reminds me of things to talk about. Don't feel like this is a punishment. You can add a lot of misery to any condition by feeling like you're being punished for something, by feeling like it's your fault you're being punished. That does not help. It does not serve at all. You just have to, there's something to be said. Like, I believe I have this condition because I'm willing to talk about it online, where it can reach a lot of people, and maybe it'll save some lives, and so in a way, I just think that we're given things so that we can just help other people, just like Tara is helping people through Project Angel, and all of these beautiful angels here are helping other people as much as we can. Have patience with us. Have patience with anyone that you know that has chronic pain. I know the New Age term is to say, well, you chose it. Well, yeah, we chose it before we came to this life. But once we got here and actually got it and realized what was up, I guarantee you most of us would have changed our mind and not chose it. But I understand we chose it. I understand, and it serves a purpose and all of that. But it still sucks sometimes, you guys. And telling somebody who's in suicidal pain, well, you chose it, it really doesn't help much. You know, it just doesn't help much. Yes, it's great for those of us that can pull ourselves back and look at things from the observer view or the fifth dimensional view, however you want to think about that. It's great when you can pull yourself back and look at the big picture. It can take you out of the suffering. But still, you know, conditions like this rob people of a lot in their life. So be understanding, be kind, don't abandon people, don't make them feel like they're only worth something, whatever it was that they couldn't do to satisfy you, so you took off. You know, don't don't get how do I want to say this? Don't get if you're a person that has this, you know, don't expect someone to come along and heal you. You know, you need to find the things to heal yourself. You need to find the ways to bring wellness into your life. You need to realize that you are a magnificent spiritual being who has the capacity to heal yourself if you can get rid of some of these layers of other stuff. And I do energy work. I'm a healer. I don't know why we can't heal ourselves. Just, you know, I mean, God does the healing. We don't do it, you know. So I don't know. The only thing I can say is if you haven't healed from whatever it is, it's just not your time to have healed from it. It's still serving a purpose in the grand scheme of things. So let's just put lots of tools in our toolbox, pull them out frequently and use them, and stay as positive as we can. Look forward to the time when we feel pain-free, like now. Now this has given me so much hope to be able to know that I'm going to go to Atlanta and have this procedure, and I could be completely free of this pain. So don't give up hope. That's my message. There are things out there. Connect with me. I'll get you into some forums. Well, you know, even if you don't have what I've talked about today, if you're someone who feels like they've been abandoned and you need some help figuring out what's wrong, contact me. I'll have my information in the description under the video, and we'll see if we can help you. All right. We'll see you guys next week, 4 p.m. Eastern, and I believe the subject is going to be medical ozone. So you definitely want to come to that, or at least tune in to the replay. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Bye. See you next week.